Howdy. Welcome to another Fossil Creek Nursery online class. And today we're going to talk about fall fertilization. Very important that you don't avoid fertilization at special times of the year. And it's important you understand how plants think. Now, obviously, they don't have a brain, but they have been trained by Mother Nature over eons on how to survive in adverse conditions as well as good conditions. In the spring, early spring, late winter, when they come out of their quote dormant period, their cold period, they want to produce roots because everything is about roots when it comes to the growth of the plant. Plants will not, unless forced by too much of the wrong fertilizer, to grow more above ground than they can support by the income produced by the root structure underground. And by income, I mean the water source and the amount of water mixed with some essential amino acids and other trace elements to be able to make food. They make their own food. They don't eat what you feed it. Fertilizer is simply a supplement, very much like you and I taking a daily vitamin or a supply of turmeric, fish oil, that kind of thing. That encourages good health. But the three main numbers on a fertilizer container, the big ones, are required by law to be on the front of the package. They are N, nitrogen, and nitrogen makes everything grow above ground, branches and leaves. P, phosphorus, the next number, has two jobs. The first main job of phosphorus is to produce roots, and it's pretty good at that. It focuses on that. The next job is to produce blooms. So with fruit trees and other things, you want to be able to produce blooms in the spring. But the job in the early spring is to produce roots. And now we're in the fall when that long summer day that the plant says, leave me alone, I don't want to produce roots. My job now with these long days is to produce food. I do that through the act of photosynthesis, which means we take sunlight and carbon dioxide from the air and we combine them in the chlorophyll leaves with essential amino acids and other trace elements mixed with water, and I make sugars. It's what the tree or shrub or plant burns for food, like you and I. Then its job is to just produce food and store it, like the ant and the grasshopper. The grasshopper lazies away the winter, and the ant works his behind off to get as much food during the summer so it has enough stores for winter. Now that we're out of that summer period, we're into fall, but plants now need to produce more roots and get a little bit of a hit of fertilizer so they can make it through the winter comfortably. And when I say comfortably, I mean to survive it. Like the bear who eats constantly during the summer, but when the summer starts to wane and we get into fall, now they start breaking into houses and eating the stuff they don't particularly like in order to build enough fatty tissue to make it through the winter. Now, if the bear didn't do this and it only ate enough food to make it through the winter but couldn't get his bottom out of the cave to go find more food, what's the point? It would die. Plants are like that. They want to produce as much food as possible so they have extra leftover in the spring when they come out of their winter sleep. The first thing they do, again, if you afford them a brain, is they know enough they can't spend all that on root structure. That doesn't work because they have to have enough left to produce leaves and shoots to make more food and grow bigger. So the two seasons when plants want to produce root is late winter, early spring as they're coming out of the dormancy. And from the end of August, as the days get pretty short, the plant says, I'm not going to produce any more leaves. Why would I? I'm going to throw them out of the boat here in 3 or 4 weeks by holding back chlorophyll, and they're going to fall off, and I'm going to go into winter. So I'm going to spend a little more on root structure. So we encourage everybody to use a root stimulating fertilizer when they first plant plants. And even though you may have planted it last autumn or last year or this spring, this is a great time to feed plants, not with flower producing fertilizers or phosphorus that you want to produce blooms with, but phosphorus that ends up producing more root structure. And it helps the plant to finally put enough food in storage that it makes it not only through the winter, but comes out like gangbusters in the spring. So one of the things we encourage you to do now, if you have a plant fairly recently planted, or even one that isn't, that's well established, is to use a water-soluble fertilizer and to water the root zone of the plant with a higher phosphorus fertilizer, but we never exclude potassium, the third of the big numbered elements, or nitrogen, because all plants need some of that at all times. So the key with newly planted plants this year is to be able to mulch the root zone, so you insulate it against early frost infiltration into the soil, and that would kill any brand new baby hair roots that are produced by the plant, and it would be wasted food. So if you have good insulation of something like gorilla hair mulch at a decent depth, we're talking about 4 or 5 or 6 inches over the root zone in the backfill hole, this is a time to go ahead and give your last good root stimulating fertilizer treatment. Next, we'll talk about lawns, because lawns need to develop roots in the exact same way every other plant does. And a healthy lawn is the best insurance against any kind of weed seed growth or pathogen or drought tolerance. When you have a thick lawn, the soil doesn't desiccate or dry out as quickly, and any weed seed that gets in there is going to have to compete against the already strong and united forces of a close-knit, healthy lawn. So this time of the year, it's all about winterizer fertilizer. And even though you could feed the same fertilizer you fed before, it's always better to use a winterizer. It's specially formulated for this type of time of year. And we have a couple of different products here at the nursery, which are specially designed for our area and are of highest quality. Some of the national brands that are the same for Florida or Michigan as they are for here don't balance or have a formulation for our soils and our growing conditions. So great time to fertilize your lawn, and a great time to fertilize indoor plants along with outdoor. But we want to caution you as we get to a point of fertilizing indoor plants too late, just because they're indoors and they're still green, going to keep their leaves, the days are still shorter. So for indoor, we recommend that you, at this time of year or within the month, you fertilize half as much as you would normally do. And then when you hit December, January, February, we do it half as often. So half as much, half as often equals an amount of about a quarter what you would feed during a given month than you would during the growing season. So whether it's indoors or outdoors with a lawn, or established trees and shrubs, or newly planted, we want to be able to fertilize appropriately in each case to help plants not only grow a little better root structure and be healthier, but to be able to make it through the winter and come out in spring like gangbusters. If you've enjoyed this video, give us a like and subscribe here at Fossil Creek. And as always, it's my pleasure to share along the way, and I wish you happy gardening. Until next time, take care.